if we had 5 drills turning all at once, we could drill forever, even to explore all these veins. It's a really exciting project. It's massive scale. The grade is there clearly, but we've had excellent results on our first hole that was just completed. 50-60% of water recovery, which is huge for speeding of the drill program, usage of water, saving money. So we're very pleased with how that's going. It's a very exciting time. We've also just completed a channel sampling campaign, so we're going to have results coming back to the market, within weeks, which is really exciting for the company, for the market, for our shareholders.
Today we're having a chat with Peter Dembicki, CEO of Tier 1 Silver. Peter, it's great to have you on the channel again. What an incredible time it is to be exploring for silver. Sure, it's been very volatile, but it's trading well above $90 an ounce again currently.
Thank you for having me back. And yeah, it's a great tailwind that the sector sure appreciates. You could talk about the price of silver in so many different ways, what's affecting it, what's causing it, but it's here. I've had to bite my tongue so many times on wrong predictions of where silver is going, where it's been, what's going to happen next. But it's over $90 as we speak today, and it's a great backdrop for having a high grade silver exploration company.
Definitely, and we'll talk plenty about that, of course. Just quickly touching base on the macro for silver. The macro backdrop was, of course, we're seeing a crunch on physical. We're seeing a $10 premium in Shanghai, which is a predominantly physical exchange compared to commodity exchange in New York and LBMA in London. As an industry expert, Peter, what are you seeing for silver, and do you think this crunch on physical will resolve itself anytime soon?
Well, like I said, I've been wrong so many times in the past, and it's not my expertise to predict the price of silver. However, it's super interesting that in Asia you're seeing that big premium. We saw that premium attached to that first run up to $117 an ounce. I think this has a lot to do with flight to safety as well. The world is changing. The world powers are shifting. It seems like we're always on the brink of war these days, and there's that flight to safety to precious metals. But there's also that sense that each country is looking inwards and saying, what minerals do we have? Not just gold and silver, but also critical minerals and obviously copper. I'm a firm believer that copper is obviously going to have a really strong 2026, 2027 as well. So many things are leading to this crunch. The devaluation of the US dollar is something that I follow, quite closely. I think it would be much lower if other countries had a stronger currency, but obviously it's only given fiat currencies. It's only, compared to the other currencies. There's nothing backstopping any of these things. And the more money that gets spent out there, it's just more and more devaluation of the currency, which is a good news for precious metals. And then obviously the world follows what the U.S. government does and the Fed as far as interest rates. And seems like there's a lot of pressure on him to lower interest rates. Again, another tailwind for precious metals to go on a tear here. So, we were at $117. It was quite euphoric. I think people all understood it was getting a little bit frothy, as we say. But I don't think anyone expected the pullback to be as vicious as it was. Coming from an investment advisor history of my previous employment, we always said, corrections are considered healthy until they actually happen. And then everybody freaks out when they actually happen. So will we go straight up from here? Probably not. There's going to be bumps along the ways. But I think we found a new base level here for precious metals, and especially silver, as it makes its way back towards $100 again.
No, definitely, Peter. And like you outlined, a lot of tailwinds for precious metals. But of course, precious metals performing so well is an incredible tailwind to have as an exploration company in the precious metal sector. Would love to talk about your project for a second. Of course, we have already done a very deep dive into your project. Link will be in the description for anyone watching. But perhaps before we start talking about the updates, you can give a short recap about what your company, Tier 1 Silver, is all about.
Of course. So this company listed on the public exchange in 2021. We launched our first drill program on a piece of property that had never before been explored. But when we went there, we found the most incredible precious metals target to really go after and go hard on. We did a robust rock sample campaign that returned grades that the industry had never really seen before. Silver samples up to 300,000 grams per ton silver, gold samples reaching almost a kilogram of gold, 80 plus samples over 1,000 grams silver, 2.5 grams gold. So we weren't quite sure what the system was, but when we went and drilled it, we found that, the results were exceptional. To have drill a raw piece of property that never before been drilled, and to come away with 40% of our holes being economic in grade, which was truly just a reconnaissance drill program, was exceptional. So, it took us a few years to get the drill going again due to some soft capital markets, but we finally were able to pull off a financing in the fall, and we are currently drilling right now. We just finished our first hole in our second phase. But really the phase of drilling that we're doing was based on a thesis that was brought to us by two world-class consultants. They came down to the property and said, all of your top intercepts came at around 1,900 meters in elevation, which, as we know in geology, is very amenable in Peru. But all of our top intercepts were hitting within 100, 150 meters of surface, meaning we were hitting quite shallow, but not at depth. It gave us that indication that we were at the bottom of the precious metals window. If you go north on the property to this Kembaya corridor, there's another 500 meters of elevation where there's been a lot less erosion. And this is where we feel we're going to get much meatier intercepts. So this is the thesis we went after. We did a huge channel sampling campaign and returned, again, multi-channel samples with plus kilo intercepts and gold. And so we're drilling right under these channel samples to try and really prove out that thesis. And it's a really exciting time.
No, it is a very exciting time. And like you outlined, you're using those channel samples to guide where potentially these veins would be. Perhaps you can outline shortly, recap us, what is this drilling campaign going to look like? How many meters are you planning to drill? How many holes? How deep are you planning to go? Those type of figures.
Yeah, because as we've been through a period of years where capital's been scarce and it's been tough, we're being very prudent with every dollar that goes into the ground. To make sure that we're very specific with our targeting. We're not just drilling everywhere and hoping to blindly find something. So these channel samples are guiding us quite strongly as they are, structures revealing themselves on surface. So it's a smaller program, 1,100, 1,200 meters of drilling. We're going to get 7 to 8 holes out of this. And I should say that, results that I've just gotten back from my geologists is in that first round of drilling, because we're doing diamond drilling, water is a scarcity in Peru when you're drilling. And when your drill doesn't recover a lot of water, it just means it needs more and more water from pooling, from trucking it in, which adds to the cost and adds to the time per meter drilled. But we've had excellent results on our first hole that was just completed with 50-60% of water recovery, which is huge for speeding of the drill program, usage of water, saving money. So we're very, very pleased with how that's going.
Excellent. Happy to hear that as well, of course. So you mentioned something along the lines of 1,100 meters, 7 holes, and will you be reusing the same platform multiple times to, cut costs there as well?
Yeah. So we, with the permit that we have, it's called a DIA or a DIA in Peru. We have multiple holes per pad that we're allowed to go. I think it's 20 pads, 10 holes per pad that we're allowed to use. But given the size of this program, we're planning a lot of scissor holes, so 2 holes per pad to really, get down to each vein and see what we can get, because we know 1 hole per pad is kind of still that reconnaissance work, and scissoring the holes allows us better chances of success.
Yeah, well understood. And of course, now that you're drilling higher up the hill, you're hoping to find a deeper reaching system, but also you're already proving out, if you were to be successful in finding something here, for it to be quite a large system, just talking, surface area.
100%. This is an epithermal system. This is a discovery. This is a silver district, so to speak. We have over 6 kilometers of vein corridors to explore, and we're only really touching on a small fraction of that right now. So if we had 5 drills turning all at once, we could drill forever, even to explore all these veins. It's a really exciting project. It's massive scale. The grade is there clearly. It's just taken us a long time to get back to drilling, and we're finally at that time right now. So, you compare us to other projects around the world. There's some fantastic silver projects out there, but they still don't have 6 kilometers of vein corridors to go after. So there's lots for us to drill. We just need to keep drilling and get some success and recapitalize off of each one.
Yeah, and when we talk about some of the projects and mines in your area, can you put that 6 kilometer of vein corridor into context for us?
Really tough, because the Curabaya project sits on a prolific copper porphyry belt in southern Peru. So our neighbors are the Cerro Verdes, the Cajones, Tocopalas, Quellavecos of the world. These are large, massive, open pit copper producers, and we have this precious metals target that stretches up along the coast. So it's really interesting. There's no direct comps to a precious metals target in our area, so which is what's gotten a lot of attention, because no one has ever, of all the management teams, all the geologists in the past, all the majors over the past decades, they've all been looking for that next big copper swing in the area. And we stumbled upon this precious metals target. That's not to say that we haven't seen indications of high-grade copper on our system, because we have. I think that's going to be a target for us to go after in the future. The more drill cores we can get back, the more our geologists can study and find the source of that copper, the stronger our validation will be, and our will to go and test for that porphyry. But at this point, we're still uncertain of the depth, the scale, and the size of that. And while we're honing in on that, we're drilling plus kilo silver. So it's incredible project to be a part of.
Yeah, well, drilling plus kilo silver in a time like this, that makes a lot of sense, of course. This porphyry target, we've talked about it in the past as well. Is that geographically close to where you're finding these epithermal veins?
Very close. For those of you that have not reviewed our presentation yet, our first round of drilling, this is when we gathered all our data from our first phase. We had consultants visit the site, walk the site with our technical team. Many people look at the project and said, guys, you were out looking for silver and gold, but look at all these indications that there's a big copper system nearby here. There's a lithocap, there's porphyritic dikes emanating on surface, there's skarn mineralization. Some of the samples that we've pulled off our property, 6% plus copper, it's there. It's lurking below somewhere quite nearby. So that all is it within, 5 kilometers of where we initially drilled and where we're drilling currently. So it's all quite close, and it's all resides in our property as well.
No, that's incredibly exciting. Of course, to drill it out, you would first need to raise a bit more capital, for which you're hoping you would hit something with this drilling campaign. So perhaps we can quickly talk about catalyst. We already ticked off how many holes you're drilling and how many meters, but how quickly should we expect the first assays to, hit the wire, and how many months of news flow should an investor look out for?
Yeah, so we're about to start kicking off a tremendous amount of news flow. Not only are we have we commenced our drilling, but we're putting our money to work with our geologists in the field. We're also doing a robust channel sampling campaign in the area to determine where next targets might be, where do we go, where the continuation of these veins are and the structures are. So we're going to get results from more channel samples as well as the drill results. Now, as far as timing, I'll never give you a date, because I'm always going to be wrong. And but from what we know in Peru right now, the turnaround times are actually quite fast compared to some of our peers in North America. Obviously, higher precious metals prices, higher copper prices out there leads a lot of companies to start drilling and sending in results to the lab, and the labs get backed up. And I've heard there's wait times of up to 3 months in Canada right now. We're expecting weeks, not months. So with our first hole completed right now, give us a few days to cut the core, bag and tag, and send it off to the lab. We're expecting results in the month of March from our first hole, and then results prior to that from the channel samples that we've already gathered and sent off to the lab. So it's going to be a steady flow over the next 2.5 months of results from our drilling and channel sampling campaign.
Excellent. Well, that's of course exciting to look out for. Perhaps we can quickly touch base on the finances, how that's currently looking. Are you fully financed for this drilling campaign? And are you seeing appetite out there to potentially raise a bit more so you can get potentially a couple more meters in your budget?
Yeah, there is. Obviously, as a CEO, you're always contemplating and financing. Any junior exploration CEO that tells you you're not in a constant state of financing is probably telling you something other than the truth. This is just the environment that we're in as junior companies, as we don't produce revenues. So it's given the silver prices where they are, there's still a very strong appetite for silver companies. There's just not that many out there that are pure exploration. And, we've seen this over time. When silver goes on a run, you get a lot of people coming with projects. You get a lot of stale companies that are changing their name from ABC Gold to ABC Gold and Silver just to ride that wave. But we've stuck with it. We haven't changed a thing. We're still silver focused. So it's still a very popular thing to do. So, while we're drilling, we're also building roads and pads for future intended drilling. That'll save us time down the road when we come back with our third phase of drilling. So I think for the most part, people want to see the results from this, and the plan for the next phase of drilling, what we're gonna go after. So as of right now, we're fully financed for this program, and then we'll reevaluate once we see some results and hopefully capitalize on the back of these results.
Yeah, really interesting, Peter, what you're outlining there, fully focused on the silver, but a lot of your channel samples and previous drill core, just the gold by itself, that could already be very interesting for another project.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy the amount of interest that we've had from the majors. Some copper, some silver, some gold. It's really a nice little collection for all different companies to kind of take a look at. But at the heart of our company, we are silver focused. Obviously, if you find any gold, it's a complete addition and a bonus. The copper is something really interesting because it's in such demand, high demand, and like I said, I think we're going to have a really strong next 18 months for copper pricing, and I think you're going to find it really hard to find new discoveries as well. So we have it all, and it's a really great place to be, and then the team is really excited to keep on exploring our property.
Yeah. Well, if silver continues to rise quickly, like you outlined earlier, the people looking to invest in silver, it's a very small pool of companies. The team, I would love to talk about the team for just a second. In mining, teams are incredibly important, and specific knowledge at hand of doing something repeatedly and having success at it is incredibly important as well. So perhaps you can do a quick rundown of who is in your team and what the specific experience at hand is for a project like yourself.
Yeah, of course. So, as a CEO of a junior mining company, it's important to be that kind of bridge between geology and the investors, right? There's some fantastic geologists out there that can act as CEOs at the same time, but really we rely heavily on our technical team, and that's led by Christian Rios, our exploration VP. He's based in Lima. We were able to poach him from a company called Bear Creek Mining, a well-known company in South America. He was integral in making their Santa Ana Corani discovery, one of the largest silver discoveries in South America. So to have him on the ground, he leads, not only our geological team, but business development, contracts, and heading up the community relations down there. So very, very integral part of the team, and assisting him on the technical side is someone who sits on our board, Antonio Arribas. This is someone that has an insane resume as former head of geosciences at BHP and at Newmont Global. So a wealth of knowledge on the technical side. Then on the capital market side, we have my chairman, Ivan Bebic, who's made several discoveries in his career at a young age. But like we always say, it's one thing for a technical team to make a geological discovery. It's another thing as a public company to be able to package that up and have a successful exit for shareholders to make them a lot of money. And that's what we're trying to do here for our shareholders. So we have a great background, and with my background in capital markets, it's a really small, nimble team, but very, very powerful at the same time in such a great project to be going after with this team.
Excellent. Thank you for the rundown there, Peter. It would be remiss of us to not talk about jurisdiction for a second. Of course, we've seen a lot of news flow out of Mexico. What are you seeing currently on the ground? How's the jurisdictional risk looking like in your area of the world?
Yeah, so obviously Mexico has been top of discussion over the last couple of weeks. It's been quite a volatile area to be in as a tourist or an operator of a company. There's lots happening there. There's some fantastic projects, and so much of the world's silver comes out of Mexico as well. So it's really hard seeing that happen because someone else's success or failure, doesn't really impact us. So we're, we're hoping that everything kind of tames down in Mexico and everyone sees a lot of success there. In Peru ourselves, we don't have that, and we haven't had that since our team has been there over the last 7-8 years as an entity. The only thing we see in Peru is some political changeover. I think as of this week, considering last week they just got rid of their president again. I think I am on president number 7 or 8 since I've been CEO of Tier 1 Silver. So we're quite used to this changeover. And the way things happen in Peru is, you have your sitting president, then you'll have somebody, gather the votes of the rural community, and Peru is basically divided into Lima and then the rest of the country. Lima kind of being your more pro-business, right-leaning, favored. Then the rural country that sees a lot of these companies operating with huge profits, and that money doesn't always trickle down to them. So what happens is you get a sitting president who is trying to get comfortable after a few months. Then someone will come and run and gather the votes from the rural community, find a reason to oust them. The new president sits in their seat for a few months and then realizes that they can't get anything done because Congress is deadlocked. They can't touch the Constitution and the military doesn't get involved. People get upset that the promises weren't fulfilled, and then it's rinse and repeat. And it's really unfortunate for the people of Peru that they don't see the change that they always want. However, we have seen the extreme left from Pedro Castillo to the current presidents that are coming in, and there's another election within a few months now, that the leading candidates are all very pro-mining, pro-right-leaning business. So it should be favorable for us again. And the only really delay that we see out of this as a exploration company is sometimes with a new president, they shift around the ministers of mines, which can add to delays, but only really when you're applying for new permits. And we have all the permits that we require. So it really doesn't bother us, and it doesn't bother the majors from operating there. So a very favorable jurisdiction to work in. And most importantly, as of all junior exploration companies worldwide, regardless of where you are, it's your immediate community. And are they on board and they partners with this project, and the Chipsapaya community that are partners with us, it's a great team to be a part of.
No, definitely well said. And like you outlined, Peru is home of many majors mining there. Very stable country, like you outlined as well, from that perspective. So great place to be. You can get all the equipment that you would need, I suppose, sourced locally.
Yeah, there's when you go and commence the next drilling phase, you take quotes from 5 or 6 drilling companies that are ready to go on a moment's notice. They're within weeks of being on site, so it's very favorable. You don't have to wait in line. And these are all drilling companies that have a long history. They know exactly what they're doing. And, it's funny when you even look at other projects in South America, a lot of the geological teams are being brought in from Peru, because mining has been a part of Peruvian culture for centuries, and they're the experts. And so to be in Peru surrounded by these teams, it's truly phenomenal expertise to have at your disposal.
Peter, it would be excellent if you could give us a short recap of the catalyst that one should look out for, and of course, how can someone keep their finger on the pulse and keep in contact with the company?
Of course. As I mentioned, we just commenced our second phase of drilling on this property ever that anyone has ever drilled. We just completed our first hole. It's a very exciting time. We've also just completed a channel sampling campaign. So we're going to have results coming back to the market, within weeks, which is really, really exciting for the company, for the market, for our shareholders that have been extremely patient over the last several years, looking for us to get drilling again. And for anyone that wants to keep up to date with any of these results, please go to our website, tier1silver.com, to find our newsletter, to sign up for it so they can be kept in the loop on all these results, because it's going to be a really busy next few months.
Excellent. Very exciting. We'll put the links in the description. And of course, on the channel, we'll keep our finger on the pulse. Peter, thank you so much for your time and your insights today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stein.